Yes, it's really lovely to meet you, Zack. We're safe landing. Something that we're particularly very excited about with the Green Party is that you're big advocates of deliberative democracy, citizens' assemblies, people's assemblies. And I was wondering what part you think that could play in the transition of aviation, decarbonisation, bringing high carbon workers on board with the Green Party's view on aviation.
I think it's absolutely central with anything to do with the just transition, and particularly in the aviation industry. I think it's about making sure the people who are most affected are at the centre of decision making from the very beginning. So things are co-produced and co-designed. And I think whether you do citizens' assemblies for that, whether you look at other ways of getting people together, I think the fundamental point is that people in the room, right from maybe not the bosses, but some of the more senior staff, right down to the workers and across that in the whole flat structure, ideally need to be in the room, as well as climate experts, people who can look at that just transition. This can't be a short-term thing either. We've seen that with the steel industry. I was at Port Talbot just a few weeks before it closed. We didn't yet know it was going to close, but it was really obvious to me that the government didn't have a plan. And I think aviation industry is another example of that, where we need to make sure that people who rely on the aviation industry know that they feel safe and secure and that actually they have livelihoods in the future. And we can only do that with long-term planning rather than panic decision-making.
Yeah, and that's exactly something we want to avoid as aviation workers. We want to avoid climate breaking down and aviation being destroyed as a result. But we also want to avoid panicked climate legislation in 10, 15 years' time. Absolutely. Where we think we've missed all our targets, what are we going to do? And aviation falls off a cliff. So we're really big advocates of workers' assemblies, a citizens' assembly model, but specifically for hard to abate carbon heavy industries like aviation. And they're doing exactly what you said there, bringing all of the stakeholders into the room and asking aviation workers, this is the climate science, these are the pathways, what do you think? If you had the power, if you had agency, what would you do? And we see that as a really great way of bringing carbon heavy workers on board to the Green Party, who they might see initially as a bit of a threat to their livelihoods in the short term.
And we saw this with the Lucas plan.